welcome to Out of Turn, the only YouTube channel that combines board games and me. Who am I? I'm Justin. I'm going to be the host of this channel, and I'll be posting one or two videos every month where I review board games, talk about what I like and what I don't like about them, let you know who I think they might be a good fit for. And I figured the best way to inaugurate this channel and to get you guys familiar with me is to do a top 50 board games of all time as of January 2021. This is part 2 of that series. If you haven't watched part 1, where we covered games 50 through 41, I will provide a link for that. You can go watch that now to get up to speed. If you did watch that video and you are here thirsty for more, thank you so much for joining. I did change the scenery. I recorded the first video in front of the thrift store and garage sale rejects, the old games that I played in my late teens and early 20s. I did that because I didn't want to spoil any games that might be on the countdown. Then I figured they didn't lend much credibility to this channel. So here I am in front of my giant wall of games, pretending to have any authority on the subject. This countdown is going to be for two reasons. If you are familiar with board gaming as a hobby, then this will give you a quick rundown of what my tastes are, the kinds of games that I gravitate towards. Might help you decide whether or not it's worth it to subscribe and watch videos and get my opinions on things in the future. If you're not familiar with board games, if you're here maybe because you know me in real life, or you're just getting into it and you stumbled upon this and I just looked pleasant enough in my YouTube thumbnail, then over about an hour's worth of content, I'm going to go over 50 different board games. That's like a crash course, and it should give you plenty of games to think about and maybe get going on the hobby yourself. So without further ado, we're going to kick off part 2. We're covering games 40 through 31 in this video. Here we go. All right, so game number 40 is a fantastic little game called Silver and Gold. So here's how this game works. You are going to have a couple of these cards out in front of you, and as you can see, they've got various shapes here. And as a group, you're going to be flipping from a little deck of cards with sort of these Tetris-style shapes. And whatever the shape is here on this card, you can mark it out in your space. And the goal of the game is you want to try to completely fill in the card to cash in the victory points, draft a new card, keep doing that over a few rounds. And then, of course, at the end, whoever scored the most points wins the game. I like it. It's a very quick, simple game. I tend to like games that are a little puzzly. The object of this one, obviously, is to try to Tetris out your the shapes and be creative in that way. It's also a game that my girlfriend likes. That probably helps. It's one that we've pulled out a few times. And I'm not ashamed to say that she beats me every single time. And even though I lose this game to her 100% of the time, I still love it. So much, in fact, it's number 40 on my list of best board games of all time. It's called Silver and Gold. Game number 39 on my countdown is Eruption. This is a fun game for up to 6 players. Here's how it works. Each of you as players are going to be a village around this island, and as you can see, there is a volcano erupting at the middle of it. And so what you'll be doing is playing tiles that have lava flow, and of course, you are trying to direct the lava towards the other players' villages. They're going to be trying to protect their villages and maybe turn the lava away from them to you. This game is kind of high in player interaction, and what we in the hobby call take that. I would consider it take that anyway. That means that you're able to play things against other players, as in, ha, take that. And so a lot of the lava flow, there's also some special cards you can play that will fortify your village or redirect the lava. And this is a game I've played with my friends quite a bit. It's fun. This is a really fun game to playfully trash talk each other, to pretend to take it personally when someone starts flowing that lava towards your village. It's a very tongue-in-cheek, very fun experience. It's 39 on my list. It's Eruption. Number 38 on my list is a cooperative word game called Letter Jam. And the way this game works is a little tricky to explain, but let me try my best. Every player's got a little stack of cards that have letters on them. Everyone's got 5 letters total. And what you do is you take one letter and you put it on a little stand in front of you so you can't see your own letter, but everyone else at the table can see it. Meanwhile, you can see everyone else's letter. So on your turn, you are going to spell a word with the letters that you see. And let's say I see letters around, I'm going to spell water. Well, the person who has a W in front of them, I'm going to give them a chip with the number 1. The person who has an A, I'm going to give them a chip with the number 2, so on and so forth. So in theory, when you do that, everyone else is going to see what word you're spelling minus their own letter. So if I'm the E and I'm able to see WAT blank R, I can deduce that my letter was E. And so I mark that down on my sheet. I take my E down, I put my next letter up. And the goal is by the end of the game, we want every player to have correctly guessed all of their letters. So that's what we mean by cooperative. In a cooperative game, there's a ton of cooperative games on this list. Everyone wins together or everyone loses together. Now, I'm into words and English and all that good stuff. I like a good word game. Scrabble I'm a little past Scrabble. I've played so much Scrabble in my life. I've played some other word games. And Letter Jam right now is the one that's scratching that itch the best for me. That's why it's number 38 on my list of top 50 board games of all time as of January 2021. Up next is game number 37, and it's a fun little game called Sheriff of Nottingham. Here's how this game works. Each player is a merchant bringing goods into Nottingham. Well, all players except for one. On each round, players are going to take turns being the sheriff. And what you're doing is you're bringing in sets of goods. It might be bread or wool. I don't know. I'm blanking a little bit on what the sets are in the game. But you have a hand of cards and you are deciding what to bring into Nottingham. And what you're doing is taking those cards and putting them in a pouch. So no one can see what they are. And now here's the twist. There is some contraband in the game as well. That contraband is stuff that's not allowed into Nottingham, and it's worth way more points. So you can try to sneak it in, but if you get caught with it, there's a hefty penalty. So what do I mean by sneaking it in? Well, once you've placed cards in your bag, you're going to hand your bag to the sheriff and declare what's in the bag. Now, you can be honest or you can lie, especially if you're my daughter. Then you can lie in any game that allows you to do it. But in this game, you're trying to put one past the sheriff. And if the sheriff doesn't believe you, they can inspect your bag. And if it turns out you were telling the truth, they pay you a penalty. If you were lying, you pay the sheriff a penalty. We do like these sort of playful lying type games in our group. It is fun and it's very rewarding to pull a fast one on your friend, especially if you can make them think that you were lying. And so then they open your bag and it turns out you were telling the truth. So you get to bring all your goods into Nottingham and they have to pay you a fine. That's a good feeling. It's a really fun game. It's number 37, Sheriff of Nottingham. Number 36 on the list is another game that encourages lying, but in a different way. It's a hidden trader game called Saboteur. Now, Saboteur is an interesting game. Basically, you're all going to be laying cards down in a grid on the table to create tunnels. And you are trying to create tunnels that reach the gold on the table. And if you can reach the gold, then everyone splits the prize. Here's the twist, and here's what I mean by hidden trader. Depending on how many people are playing the game, a couple of you could be saboteurs. Now, your objective as the saboteur is to prevent the group from reaching the gold. You could do that by leading the tunnels astray, There are cards that allow you to break the tools of the other players. Maybe you'll accuse someone else of being a saboteur and break their tool when really you're the saboteur and you're just trying to prevent the game from reaching its conclusion. And you play 3 rounds of this game, so the players who are the saboteurs are going to change each round. And that's actually what I like about it is as you go through the game, you may build trust or distrust for your players. And it sort of, compounds as you keep playing. And it's very twisty. And just like the previous entry on this list, Sheriff of Nottingham, it's very fun in a tongue-in-cheek way to pull one over on your friends. Certainly not the last time you'll see something like that on this list. This game, again, it's a fun little game. Number 36, Saboteur. Moving on to game number 35 on the countdown, and the only game on this entire countdown with a name that I hope will apply to my YouTube channel someday. It is Viral. Now, Viral is a very cool area control game. It's not the first on the list, but just to explain, an area control game is a game where there are several different areas on the board. In this case, it is organs in the human body. And you're going to score points or gain abilities in the game by having the most presence in each area. So in this game, each player is a virus, and you are vying for points and control by moving into all these organs. You have cards that you can play, and the cards will allow you to shuffle your things around, and you're trying to cleverly maneuver your way into certain organs or certain systems so that you can max out your points. Now, the interesting twist to this game is the more powerful you get as a virus, the more doctors understand you and create a cure. So you're going to hit a certain point where you become so powerful that the doctors are able to create a cure for you, and it's going to strike you all the way back down to 0 and you start over. I love that idea in this game because it prevents one person from absolutely running away with the game. So someone's crushing you and they're outpacing you by several points. Great. They are going to start over from their progress that much quicker than you. It is a really fun game. I love the artwork in it. I like the style of gameplay. As you can tell, I'm describing the gameplay a lot more than most of the other games. But I really love the way this one works, and that was Viral. Number 34 on my list is Kokoro, Avenue of the Kodama. Now, this is sort of a cousin of game number 40, Silver and Gold. It has a similar thing going on, what we call flip and right. So each player is going to have, here's just a little, you know what, while I talk, I'll just pull it out. Each player is going to have a little board, and there's also a deck of cards like in Silver and Gold. As we flip the cards, they're going to give us little shapes here, right? You got that? So those shapes you will draw onto this board, and your goal is you're trying to create paths to connect all these little buildings to each other. There's also another deck of cards that tell you which letter building. So in each round, you know which building is going to score at the end of the round. So at the end, let's say round 1, we flipped D. So at the end of round 1, your path that goes through building D, you're going to score points based on how long that path is, and perhaps how many of these little critters and plants your path goes through. I really like, again, this is sort of a puzzly type game. There's also a bit of a push your luck aspect to it because, you could play it safe and get 10 points with the path that goes to building D. But there's that one shape that if you hold out for, you can connect 2 paths and get 20 points. And the question is, do you hold out and hope it comes up before the round ends? Or do you play it safe and stick it on the end of your path that you already know is a sure thing? I like that. For me personally, it causes me to run away with the game, like have a really awesome, fulfilling high score, or crash and burn. But you know what? I don't feel bad about it because I went for it. And I love that feeling in this game. It's I can be a little competitive, and this is not a game where I really feel bad if I don't win because I know I was really going for something. And every player who's playing the game can experience that as well. There's no interaction with each other. You're building your own path. You're playing your own game, and it's a little bit different from the other games in that regard. And that's why I like it. It's Kokoro Avenue of the Kodama, number 34 on my list. Game number 33 is yet another game similar to the one we just talked about. This is Roll to the Top, and this is what we call a roll and write game. So a couple of other games we talked about on this video are games where you flip a card and then you write something on your personal board that relates to that. Well, in this game, you're going to be rolling dice and then writing on your board. So the way this game works is there are different levels. You can pick, for example, here's the Eiffel Tower. So you're going to be rolling some dice and you're going to have a bunch of numbers to choose from. And you will be filling in numbers in these spaces. Now, here's the catch. You can only play equal or higher values going up this tower. And it is a race to the top of whatever structure that you're filling in. So, you know, it's very easy to put a 6 on top of a 1 because it's higher, but you're really limiting what you can write above it. Now, there are several types of dice, and they go all the way up to a D20. So there are lots of numbers. It's not like you're going to have to stack 1s, then 2s, then 3s, and 4s, 5s, 6. But there's also an interesting mechanism in this game where on each turn, you may be adding or subtracting one of the dice from the roll. So if I am up here on the tower and I've written an 18 here, and I know the only numbers above it are 18, 19, or 20, you better believe that the next player is going to remove that D20 from their roll and just totally ice me out of completing my tower. It's a nice strategic twist to roll it and write that I really enjoy. And I enjoy this game. I love the variety. There are several different levels in this game. So it doesn't really get old. You can't really solve the game in that way, I don't think, unless you just play it hardcore. I don't play it hardcore, but I sure do love it. It is Roll to the Top. My number 32 board game of all time actually came up in part 1 of this video series because we were talking about one of its spin-off games. Well, here's the original, Carcassonne. Now, this is probably the game that unlocked my friends and turned them into a game group. My friends like games. I've played games with mostly the same people for years and years, but this is one of the games that I think pulled them a little away from party games exclusively, and we started getting a little more strategic. Now, this game is about 20 years old, and it is certainly one of the classics and staples of modern board gaming. If you're not familiar with it, whether you just don't know the game or you didn't hear me talk about it in the last video, I'll just explain. This is a game where you are laying out tiles and creating a landscape. So you're basically creating a puzzle as you go. It's very cool because every time you play the game, the landscape's going to go out differently. You're also going to be putting these little meeples down and claiming sections. So you'll be creating roads, you'll be creating cities, you'll be creating fields, all sorts of different things. And you put your meeples down to claim those areas. And as those areas get completed, you then score points based on how big they are. It's very cool. It's a very easy game to wrap your head around. At the same time, there's plenty of strategy in there. I think this is probably one of the games that my group and I return to the most because it is one of those very, takes moments to learn, a lifetime to master. Okay, that's a little ridiculous, but we love the endless possibilities with building out the map. We never, ever, ever have a bad game on this. That is why it is smack dab in the middle of my top 50 board games list. That is Carcassonne. All right, we've made it to the final board game in part 2. We are, of course, at number 9. Wait, we're on we're on number 31, which is number 9. Now, as I've alluded to earlier, I love Tetrisy puzzly games, and number 9 is one of the best of them. Here's how it works. There are tiles in this game that are numbers 0 through 9. But if I can show you here, the tiles are literally shaped like the numbers they are. So here's what happens. We've got a deck with all the numbers. We're going to flip a card. You take the number that's revealed there, take the tile and set it down. And your goal is you want to create levels. You want to be able to set numbers on top of numbers. Now they can't hang over. You can't, if you put a 2 on top of a 9, it can't be halfway hanging off. You have to make sure that you're covering your previous level exactly. And the reason you're doing that is because ultimately the way you score points in this game is you take the number that the tile is and you multiply it by the level that it's sitting at. So if you can get your 9 tile on level 3, bam, you have 27 points. See how quick I did that math? So it's interesting. There's another little bit of a gamble involved in this game. You draw a number like 8 or 9, and you're thinking, well, do I go ahead and place it down on my bottom level to expand my space and have more room to build up on? Or do I go ahead and put it on this level 2 spot here? I can just barely squeeze it in, but it's really going to put myself in a bind for future tiles. It's very puzzly without breaking your brain. And the best thing about this game, I think, is it's like a 10-minute game, maybe 15 tops. It is a quick, puzzly game that is perfect for pulling out and playing pretty much any time. It's actually one of my daughter's favorite games. She's about to be 10 in a couple of days, actually. This is a game that she likes to play as well. And it's become, I think, a family staple for us. Number 31, number 9. All right, folks, there you have it. That is the end of part 2 of my top 50 board games of all time as of January 2021. I hope I see you guys back here for part 3. We're going to cover games 30 through 21. In the meantime, leave a comment down below. Let me know, were there any of these games that looked interesting to you? Have you played any of these? Do you disagree? Do you think one of my choices was hot garbage? Well, you're wrong, but I'll listen to why you think that's the case. So go ahead and let me know how you felt about this in the comments below. If you haven't yet, you can also subscribe. Let's finish this countdown together. And then, as I mentioned, I'll be releasing 1 or 2 videos a month. I know 1 video a month, I'll be recapping my gaming activity the previous month. So that'll be sort of a rapid fire review type video. And I'll probably also make some other countdown type videos as well. Videos that will let you know what are some of the best inexpensive games I like, what are some of the best games I like to play with my family or my daughter, different circumstances. Maybe that'll help you. Like I said, if you're new to this, I think it's awesome that you've stuck around with me for the last 15 minutes or so and listen to me yammer about these games. But as you can see, I have a lot of fun with them, and I hope that you will too. I hope some of these games pique your interest, and I hope to bring you some more interesting and exciting games in part 3. Until then, my name's Justin. This is Out of Turn. Thank you so much. See you next time.